and welcome to Anime Audio Commentary. Today I'll be commenting over episode 12 of Cowboy Bebop. If you'd like to watch along, start watching now. Alright, so here we have Jupiter Jazz Part 1. And this is the next episode where the plot sort of starts taking place, rather than just the episodic stuff like the previous episode. So we're sort of listening to this holy man, and it really seems to me that what he's talking about is sort of analogous to Spike. You know, a lost warrior couldn't find his way home and all that. You know, that seems a lot like Spike if you ask me. So here we have presumably a syndicate ship. So it seems like there's some sort of intra-crime family drama going on here. So it seems like they don't really know about Vicious's involvement in Mao's death. At least that's the impression I get. It seems to me that they'd probably at least try to kill him if they thought he was involved. Alright, so they're clearly giving him a veiled threat there by telling him that a snake cannot eat a dragon. Them being, I believe, the heads of the Red Dragon Syndicate, and one of them having just remarked that Vicious has the same look in his eye as that of a snake about to strike. So I think they're clearly onto him, but I don't think they're paying enough attention to him as they probably should. So it kind of seems like business as usual about the Bebop. They don't have any work, so they're not really doing anything, just sort of milling about. So it seems like Faye has jumped ship again. So Spike is forced to grapple with the dilemma of being happy that she's gone, but being irritated in that she stole all their money too. Truly a mixed blessing. Alright, so that's clearly very significant to Spike. So the plot kicks off for real. Julia was the woman in a couple flashbacks in previous episodes pertaining to Spike. So she's clearly someone that he's involved with and clearly very important to him. So Spike is showing that single-minded determination he occasionally does. So it sounds like they're trying to outbluff each other here. Although, Spike clearly cares less than Jet does in this instance. So I believe this piece of saxophone music playing in the background, it's sort of, I guess, an ongoing or recurring musical theme in this episode and the next. It's the Jupiter Jazz, if you will. So there's a very melancholy atmosphere here. Faye doesn't seem to be in a good place either. So it's a case of mistaken identity. So that same saxophone player that Faye was listening to seems to be a figure of interest. Alright, so that's very interesting. Faye really seems to have picked a bad place to venture to, considering that she is apparently the only woman in the town. And what Jet said about this part of Jupiter being lawless, that doesn't bode well. So clearly this whole town is infested with crime. And these are some pretty shady people who are now following Spike. Probably local mafia, if nothing else. At the very least, they don't seem to take too kindly to him poking around. Alright, so it seems like mistaken identity is a common theme of this episode. Now, this is a particularly brutal scene. Spike is normally, I guess, more of an elegant fighter, would be one way to put it, but he's not pulling any punches at all. He's absolutely destroying these punks. The animation's quite impressive, too. So Spike is clearly not in the mood to be trifled with at all. So it seems like this is another act of serendipity. I get the feeling that this bounty running on the television is probably somebody who... Oh, yep. Yep, I called it. That would be the saxophone player that Faye was hanging out with. So everything is slowly starting to come together, with all these different characters being related in one way or another. So not only is the place crime-ridden, it's a fugitive for criminals as well. At least, according to the bartender. Alright, so Faye's tempting fate again. So the plot thickens again. So it seems like despite his bounty, uh, he at least has some sort of moral fiber so as to not abandon a woman to a group of thugs, regardless of how well she seems to be doing for herself. So that speaks to his character at least a little bit. Something tells me the lady doth protest too much. So the saxophone player, it seems to me, he can really see right through the facade she's putting up. She's making a big to-do about how she enjoys being alone and solitude this. It seems like this guy, he knows what's up in many regards. So while the saxophone player's in the shower, she's just sort of peeping through his apartment. And there's a whole collage of photographs. One of them appears to show him in military garb. And it also seems like he's pictured with... So if nothing else, he's an associate of Vicious's, and it seems to me like that might have been a hint that Vicious was also in the picture. So Spike and Vicious confront each other once more. But this time, there's the added wrinkle of Lynn, who appears to have been a former subordinate of Spike's. So now the plot thickens further. So Faye gets wrong-footed by the saxophone player and Spike gets shot. All in all, it's not shaping out to be a very good day for the crew of the Bebop. So next episode, we're going to have the second part of Jupiter Jazz. And that is presumably where everything will get resolved before returning back to the more episodic format. So if I had to guess, I would say that all the different plot lines of Spike and Vicious, Faye and the saxophone player, and Jet will all converge. But at this point, it's just speculation. Thank you for listening to this week's episode. If you've enjoyed it, then by all means, please tune in for Jupiter Jazz Part 2 next time.